All right, so what happened on the previous episode? We talk about Kirk Cousins headed to Las Vegas to play for the Raiders. We preview both men's and women's Final Four. That's over with. We talk about NFL rule changes, and then we talk about NFL replacement referees, as labor negotiation looms, and then NBA MVP races heating up. So it was the previous episode from last week's JDB's morning cap. Now we're starting a new week. What's coming up on JDB's morning cap? Every saying good morning. I hope you enjoyed your Easter weekend. Um, Today is April 6th, 2026. So we are really excited that we're looking forward to this week's show. This is going to be a very good week of this show because we have a championship game for the men's today. Yesterday we only had women's national championship. I'll cover that a little bit later on this show. And then the final week of the regular season of the NBA, as the races for both conferences is heating up, fighting for a top six in each conference. I'll explain to that a little bit later on this show as well. So we so we're gonna get this thing started if that's going to be the case. All right, let's start with a men's college national championship game, men's college basketball national championship game. Let's see who is in the national championship game tonight. For the men's, it will be number 2 UConn representing the East region will take on number 1 Michigan representing the Midwest region. Tip-off begins at 8:50 Eastern on TBS. So so here so here's the so UConn defeating Illinois in the men's Final Four, 71-62. Michigan beat Arizona 91-73. So there were the final scores from the men's Final Four last Saturday. Um, let's start with UConn first. How UConn, this is their third national championship appearance of each of their last four. All have been in the Dan Hurley era. So far, Hurley has won 2 straight titles. UConn did not go to the full dance of the Final Four last year. They did make the tournament, but they got dropped. They dropped out in the round 32 which is the second round. And now UConn's back to the national championship dance. I mean, despite the UConn victory, UConn did not shoot the ball particularly well against a very good Illinois defense. I mean, it when you're gonna have tough nights, even though you're winning, even though you found a way to win, the defense continued to play great. That's what Dan Hurley wants. We want to play great brand of defensive basketball, and Dan Hurley got his wish. I mean, now this is the team. This is not going to be an easy game for UConn. You're facing Michigan. They they really dominated in games. They score a lot of points against their opponents. So Dan Hurley, he has to go to the scouting report. He had to film it on Sunday, and what we can do to Michigan tonight. How UConn can do it to Michigan tonight. How they can stop their offense. I mean, so let's say if you're going through the same issues right there, you just don't have to worry about it. But if that's the case, then you just don't see it the other way. You just don't see this thing the other way. It's not out of the question. My question is, can Dan Hurley win his third championship over the last 4 years? I mean, even I'm confident about that. They have to perform at a high level, which is they did. They did perform at a high level for all the work, all the sacrifices that you make. It's really everything. You made everything the sacrifice. You sacrificed your job. You sacrificed your opportunity. You sacrificed as your game plan. But it really differentiates themselves. But there's not a whole lot of things you can want about UConn Huskies. But I love the Huskies team. They show a lot of resiliency. I mean, this team is absolutely resilient enough to make the national championship. That's their pedigree. They want to win basketball games when it's necessary, including in a tournament when you're not playing your best. We've seen several games this season. Even you win games, sometimes you're not playing your best for UConn. All right. So as for Michigan, last time Michigan made a national championship was 2018, but Michigan has no success in national championships. Michigan is 1-6 in national championship games. Michigan is looking for their second national championship win. This is their 8th national championship appearance for Michigan. But the fact was, we've seen Dusty May. He's done a tremendous job to put this group together. For Michigan, the offense has scored at least 90 points in every tournament games. We've seen any of these teams in the history of this bracket, in March Madness history, has scored at least 90 points in each and every tournament game. That's unbelievable. Will Michigan become the first team in college basketball history? Michigan become the first team in March Madness history to score at least 90 points in every game and win the national championship. That will be a great accomplishment for Michigan. Michigan could make history tonight. Michigan could make history tonight. Michigan has the best scoring offense in the NCAA tournament this year, and they won all their tournament games. So how Michigan start the tournament? It start off Michigan being Howard in the first round. Michigan scored 101 points in the first round against Howard. And then in round 32, second round matchup, Michigan beat St. Louis. Michigan scored 95 points. That was the round 32 matchup. That's a second round matchup. And then Michigan beat Alabama in the Sweet 16. They scored 90 points. And then the Elite Eight, Michigan beat Tennessee. Michigan also scored 95 points. Then the Final Four, Michigan beat Arizona. Michigan scored 91 points. So every game, Michigan has scored 90 points or more. We've seen it has. I don't think it has happened in college basketball in NCAA tournament history. The team has scored at least 90 points in each and every NCAA tournament game. I mean, the question is, will Michigan score 90 points against UConn? Well, I believe they can score 90 points. I think Michigan can score 90 points for this one. The question is, who am I rooting for as far as the men's national championship game? Um, should I go with UConn or Michigan? We'll get to that in about 45 seconds. But my final thoughts before I select my pick for UConn, I think this team has a chance to win a championship. I don't know they can stop Michigan's offense. As for Michigan, they're the most unstoppable team in the tournament. I think they can win the whole thing. I think Michigan has a chance to win the whole thing because of that. Um, Probably there's no use. So I'm gonna pick Michigan to win tonight. I think it's gonna be a very good game, but I think Michigan should be national champions. So I will recap that tomorrow as it develops. So it should be really, really exciting. All right, coming up next, we're going to talk about women's national championship game between UCLA versus South Carolina. And then we'll talk about, should the Lakers be concerned, including Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves? They're both, what happened to Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves? We'll figure this out. And also coming up, as the final week of the NBA regular season is entering right now, we'll talk about that later on in this show as we kick off JDB's morning cap. We will step away in 3 minutes. Welcome back to JDB's morning cap. UCLA squared off against South Carolina for the women's national championship game. It happened yesterday. On Friday's Final Four, South Carolina beat UConn 62-48. And then UCLA beat Texas 51-44. And then yesterday, UCLA dominates South Carolina 79-51 in Phoenix, Arizona. So UCLA are women's national champions of women's college basketball. So let's talk about the UCLA Bruins really quick. This is the most impressive team in women's college basketball this season. I mean, it's been a cool moment. Now they finally got their championship wish. So that's their first national championship in the Division I era for UCLA. So Corey Close was her 15th season as a head coach. So, I mean, it took 15 years to win her first ever championship. Not only that, it took 1,000 years that UCLA has won their first championship in the Division One era. So UCLA defense was the big story yesterday. They held to South Carolina to 29% shooting, and they held South Carolina Gamecocks to 2 for 15 from long range. So we talk about UCLA. This is a complete basketball team for the Bruins, and they have a chance to run it back next year. But you do have some stronger contenders in women's college basketball. We know it's UConn. We know it's South Carolina. We know it's LSU. We know it's Texas. Some of these powerhouse teams in women's college basketball. And then you got Louisville in the mix. And you got Iowa as well. So there's some powerhouse teams in women's college basketball. So it the favorite to win next year's national championship game is UCLA. Number 2, UConn. Number 3, South Carolina. Number 4, Texas. Number 5, LSU. There's your top 5 favorites to win the national championship game in 2026-2027 for the women's national championship. But it is the appropriate way to talk about who walks out to win the women's national championship. But who led the way in points yesterday? Gabriella Hawkes, the sister of Jaime Hawkes, Miami Heat star. She had 21 points, 8 for 14 from the field. Lauren Betts had 14 points for UCLA. I mean, talk about UCLA expect to win the national championship. Because of that, they really trust each other for this one here. For South Carolina, it's been a very good run once again. We said so several times. It's been a tumultuous week for Dawn Staley. On last Friday in the Final Four, even though her team won the game, Gino had exchanged words with Dawn Staley at the end of the game. It was a before the end of the game scuffle they got into. And then Don said, we gotta move on to the next game. Despite the incident. And then since that time, South Carolina just never showed up. They just never showed up offensively and defensively. I mean, several things broke down, and now now it's time to move forward next year. It's really time to move forward for next year, if that's going to be the case. So you make yourself making yourself useful, and and that's for South Carolina. They gotta make some. There's gonna be changes to be made next season. Hopefully, the Gamecocks expect to be another to be another championship contender. So this is a different story right now. So there's something you really want to wait for. So that'll be that. All right, so let's do a quick trailer coming up here. Atlanta Dream has acquired Angel Reese from Chicago Sky. So Reese is heading to Atlanta Dream. So they'll try to win a championship in Atlanta. So Angel Reese is heading to Atlanta to play the Dream. So that's my quick update as of right now. All right. When we come back on JDB's Market, we'll talk about the Lakers' health concerns, and then also coming up, we have reached the final week of the regular season. We will step away in a few minutes. All right, welcome back here. Here, Luka Doncic suffered a left hamstring injury. He is stepping away for the rest of the regular season. He could come back in the postseason for the Lakers. So we will see how he feels about that. And also, Austin Reeves will also stepping away for the rest of the regular season. He said Austin Reeves will miss 4 of the next 6 weeks. He suffered with an oblique strain. So Luka, Luka is. So here's my question right now: which injury player of the Lakers who is a massive blow? Austin Reeves or Luka Doncic? Well, I'm gonna go with Luka Doncic for sure. It is he's having a hell of a season, man. Uh, but damn, that's gonna hurt because Luka Doncic he has played 64 games, and now he's 1 game short from eligibility, and he's not gonna qualify. Also, we'll get to the further information a little bit later, but we talk about Luka Doncic having a great year. This could be the greatest season of his career, and then he doesn't qualify for the awards. We talk about the 65 game rule stuff in the NBA. The NBA player must play 65 games at the minimum. It's at the minimum requirement. You must play 65 games to qualify the awards. Let's say if the player plays more than 65 games, you're more than qualified. If you played 64 or if you played less than 65 games, you can't qualify. I mean, this is let's take a look at notable players already ineligible for the awards. Cade Cunningham, Anthony Edwards, most recently disqualified for the NBA awards. Stephen Curry, also disqualified for NBA awards. Right, so, and then most likely Luka Doncic will be added a name on the list by the end of next week. So, so this is really alarming for Luka Doncic and their Lakers. I'm concerned about the Lakers' health in general. I mean, we talk about the injuries and all that stuff going on. LeBron has to carry that load with Luka and Austin Reeves being out. The good news is the Lakers already clinched a playoff spot. They haven't clinched the number 3 seed yet because the 3 seed is still in play. Because the Thunder and Spurs have clinched at least the top 2 spots of the West. But we've seen several teams are in a dogfight for the Western Conference. We need one of these two teams has to jump ahead of the Lakers. Houston doesn't have a tiebreaker. The Lakers don't 1-2 against him. Nuggets doesn't have a tiebreaker. The Lakers don't 1-2 against him as well. So one of those two teams will have to jump ahead of the Lakers by the end of the season. Who will be the number 3 seed in the West by the end of this week? Lakers look like they solidified their spot, but now they gotta fight it this time. They gotta fight it. Lakers gotta play the Thunder tomorrow at home. Important game. They're 0. It makes matters worse. The Lakers are 0-3 against the Thunder this season, and they gotta play the Warriors. Lakers have won 2 of their first 3 matchups against them. They play the Suns. They have been struggling lately, although they're 1-3 against Phoenix this season, and they'll end the season against the Jazz. I think Lakers should be okay. I don't think the Lakers will drop the number 3 seed. I don't think they'll drop the number 4 seed or worse by the end of the year. I, I, Lakers, the Lakers will not be ending at the number 6 seed. There's no way. So I think Lakers should be okay by the end of the season. If they win at least if they win half of their games this week, if they can go 2-2 this week, probably your 3 seed may be safe. You could be 500 in the final 4 games. You can't go no worse than 2-2. You can go if you go 1-3 or 0-4. If you go 0-4 this week, and if either Denver goes 500 or Denver goes 3-1 or Houston goes 3-1, 4-0 or 2-2, whatever, then either Denver or Houston could take the number 3 spot. The the only way you can jump ahead of the Lakers, you need to win at least 2 games or more to jump ahead of the Lakers. I know it's difficult to jump ahead of the team like this with a 1 spot ahead of the other, but this is what's the problem was here. Lakers last night end up losing to the Mavericks 134 to 128 last night. Cooper Flag had 46 points for the Mavericks last night, and the Mavericks win avoiding getting swept by the Lakers in a 4 game season series. LeBron James did have 30 points. But actually, Cooper Flag had 45 points, not 46, 45 points. Cooper had 51 points the other game. Against the Magic. You know what's ironic though? Every time Cooper has scored at least 35 points, they end up losing the game. But this time the Mavericks won. It's been a tough season for Dallas, but there's no getting around it. For the Lakers, they should be ashamed of themselves. You lost to the Mavericks team. They have nothing to lose. Now now the Lakers will have to play the Thunder tomorrow. They got to play the Warriors in Golden State on Thursday, and they'll end the season. And then they got to play the Suns on Friday, and then they'll play the Jazz at home on Sunday. So those games are crucial for the Lakers. So Luka is going to be out for the rest of the regular season, uncertain the postseason. Austin Reeves is going to be out 4 to 6 weeks, which is he'll be out between the first round and then probably middle of the second round if the Lakers would have advanced to the semifinals. So he could return by the middle of the semifinals series if that's going to be the case. At least that, or he could return by the Western Conference Finals if the Lakers have have if the Lakers wins the first 2 rounds of the series. So we're going to keep their fingers crossed if that's going to be the case. So the Lakers are just trying to hold on to number 3 seed in the Western Conference as the final week. As the Lakers with 4 games left to play, they got 3 of the final 4 games are at home. Thunder on Tuesday, Suns Friday, Jazz Sunday. The only game on the road during that stretch is the Warriors. Is this Thursday. So we're gonna keep that in mind in this one. All right, come next on JDB's Morning Cap. We're going to talk about the final week of the NBA regular season. It's this week. Playoff implications. So we will, including the fighting for a top 6 spot in the playoffs. It is a wild finish here in the NBA. We'll find out right after this. All right, so welcome back to JDB's Morning Cap. This is the final week of the NBA regular season, so this is a potential playoff implications as of right now. Here's the Eastern Conference playoff picture as of right now. Let's update this. Detroit Pistons 57-21. They clinch the number 1 seed. The Celtics are 53-25, the number 2 seed for Boston. The number 3 seed is the New York Knicks, 50-28. They'll try to hang on at least the number 3 seed. Number 4 is the Cleveland Cavaliers. With that win yesterday, they keep pace for the top 2 or top 3. Actually, Cleveland no longer can take the number 2 seed. They could take the number 3 seed. They need to win out, and they need Knicks to lose out. Knicks are 2-1 this season against Cleveland, so keep that in mind. The Cavs are 49-29 on the season. Number 5, how about the Atlanta Hawks? 45-33. They're one of the bigger stories in the NBA, which is the number 5 seed. Number 6 is the Philadelphia 76ers with a 43-35 record. They had a tiebreaker with Toronto, so we'll keep that in this one here. And that's the top 6 playoff picture. In this one here are the play-in pictures. Number 7 is Toronto Raptors, 43-35. Charlotte Hornets have been the biggest story in the NBA Number 8 is Charlotte Hornets, 43-36. Number 9 is Orlando Magic, 42-36. And then you got Miami Heat, 41-37. So this is it. The Eastern Conference is starting to heat up the race a little bit more. So we'll talk about who will take the final top 6. We'll get to that for the East in just a moment. For the West, number 1 is the Oklahoma City Thunder with a 62-16 record. They're trying to clinch their best record in basketball for the second year in a row. San Antonio Spurs, it's been a biggest story, 59-19. They still got a chance to pick up their 60th win of the season. They're the number 2 seed. Number 3 seed, the Los Angeles Lakers with a 50-28. Same as the Nuggets. Number 4 is Denver Nuggets, 50-28. The tiebreaker goes to Lakers based on head-to-head season series. Lakers are 2-1 against the Nuggets this season. Then you got the Houston Rockets, number 5, 49-29. They try to keep pace with the Nuggets and the Lakers for the top 4. Number 6 is the Minnesota Timberwolves, hanging on to number 6, 46-32 on the season. And then you got number 7. So that's the top 6 in the playoffs. Here are the play-in pictures as of right now. The Phoenix Suns are 43-35. They're still breathing to get the top 6. Los Angeles Clippers are 40-38. That's number 8. Number 9 is Trailblazers, also 40-38. The Clippers takes the tiebreaker because of a head-to-head season series. And then finally, number 10 is the Golden State Warriors, 36-42. So 3 teams have locked into their play-in tournament except for one. The Suns have not locked into the play-in tournament. They still got a chance to get the top 6. They just need a win out, and they need Minnesota to lose out, if that's the case. All right, so what are my thoughts on potential final week of the regular season? It's going to go down to a pretty darn good finish. We'll find out who has the strengthest schedule, who has the easiest schedule of the final week of the season, and who has the toughest schedule in the final week of the season. The strength of schedule in the final week of the season, it's going to be critical for any of these playoff teams. I'm going to start with the Western Conference. Look at the Minnesota. After the loss to Charlotte, look at their schedule. They got Indiana tomorrow. That's an easy game. Then Orlando, and then Houston, and then New Orleans. So if they could be 500 this week, then there's a chance the Wolves will hold on to number 6 seed. They can't go 0-4 or worse than 1-3. They can't do that. What's the Suns' strength of schedule look like? It's not that great. They got a tough game against the Rockets, and then they got an easy game against the Mavericks. They got a tough game against the Lakers, and they got a tough game against the Thunder. Suns have one of the toughest 4-game schedules, four game remaining schedules in the NBA. So they have a tough schedule ahead. I think Suns will probably lock into the play-in tournament. They still got a chance to get into the postseason. They can still do it. But it's not going to be easy. You got the winning record. All you got to do is just get to the postseason. That's the key. So that's that. So that's what the teams who could have a chance right now. As for the Eastern Conference, this is a chaotic between number 5 through 10 for the Eastern Conference. I think Hawks have a better chance to solidify their spot because they play so much better with Trae Young being traded The Hawks are one of the best teams in the NBA since Trae Young left from Atlanta. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. I said the Hawks are going to solidify the fifth spot of the Eastern Conference, but the rest of them, it's going to be a dogfight. You got Philadelphia, Toronto, Charlotte, Orlando, and Miami looking for the sixth seed. But I would think that who has a better shot to be the number six seed? If it's Charlotte, if Charlotte wins out, if both Toronto and Philadelphia both finish worse than 500 in the final week of the season, then it's going to be Hornets next. Oh boy, this is going to be spicy. And I can tell you that. And I can tell you that because this is going to be really spicy for the Eastern Conference. So I say Philadelphia will take the top six. I think Philadelphia has a chance to take the top six of the Eastern Conference. I think there's no further explanation about that, but I do know this: they do get Tyrese Maxey, Paul George, Joel. If they then you got Joel Embiid, this team will be dangerous in the playoffs. Playoffs. I would say they making a deep playoff run. I wouldn't say that, but the first round is going to be the key for Philadelphia to get to that series. Philadelphia has not won a playoff series since 2023. So let's see if they can figure things out here at this point of all. So as for the Western Conference, number 3 seed is up for grabs. You got the Lakers, Nuggets, and the Rockets trying to fight for the number 3 spot. Lakers are currently the number 3 seed, but two of those teams will try to fight for it and get past the Lakers. Which team has a better chance to jump ahead of the Lakers, Rockets, or the Nuggets? I think Denver has a better. I mean, yeah, I gotta go with Denver. You gotta go Jokic. Jokic, the best player, one of the best players in the game. You gotta go Nikola Jokic. The Denver Nuggets possibly jump ahead of the Lakers for the number 3 spot in the West. I mean, we talk about the Denver Nuggets can get themselves to the playoffs, get to the conference finals, get to that, make a deep run into the postseason. So the reason why Nuggets can make this run, it's experience of Jokic, Murray, and Gordon. Bruce Brown off the bench. They have a better chance to overtake the number 3 seed in the West. The Western Conference has been pretty darn chaotic all season long. So we just been talking about in each and every other games. But this is a different story. But there's no questions asked. Can you just get around it? And that's the point right now. You have point emphasis to work with, then you would have got yourself a chance because of it. But thanks to this, because you don't have a problem with that, it's really no use. It's a no good piece of work. You just don't have a chance to make that happen. You gotta perform. You gotta outperform you, so you won't have a problem. It wouldn't be the case. Would have been a worst case scenario. Because of that, some teams have been going through the same issues. It doesn't really impact your life. All right, let's take a look at the teams who have clinched their playoff spots. For the East, we have Pistons, Celtics, Knicks, and the Cavs. All clinched their playoff spots. For the West, we have Thunder, Spurs, Lakers, Nuggets, and the Rockets have clinched their playoff spots. So we have 9 teams have clinched their spots. So overall, just three teams that can clinch their playoff spot. It's for the West, the final spot of the top 6. For the East, the final 2 spots between number 5 and the number 6 seed for the Eastern Conference. So it's still they're both in played right now. So we gotta keep that. We gotta keep our fingers crossed every single time, if that's the case right now. So we just gotta get there, so get ourselves ready to grooving in and grooving out. All right, let's close it out here. As tomorrow we'll recap the men's national championship. We'll preview the Hornets and the Celtics. For this one here. And then we'll talk more NFL, not just tomorrow, for the rest of this week. So I can choose any of these NFL topics. And then as NFL draft is this month, NFL draft is, I believe, is 2 weeks away. So we'll talk NFL draft and all that stuff coming up. And then we will start thinking about all this. Yeah, what did I talk about today? I talked about we're previewing the men's national championship game between UConn and Michigan. And then I recapped the women's national championship game between UCLA and South Carolina. UCLA dominated South Carolina yesterday to become their first ever national champions for the women's college basketball. We talked about Luka, Doncic, and also Reeves' injury. They're both going to miss time for the rest of the regular season and some parts of the postseason as well. And then we talked about the NBA chaotic final week of the regular season starts this week. So, as playoff implications, the NBA is heating up right now. And NBA MVP implications. But we've seen several players who disqualified themselves a 65-game rule. We talk about Angel Reese trading to Atlanta Dream. But that's it. This is JDB's More Cap. Good night.